So hello and welcome to another episode of TopTenz. I am your host for this episode, Karl Small, reporting from an undisclosed location somewhere in Yorkshire, aka my house.
Yes, Yorkshire folk know how to have a good time.
And today we're talking about 10 fascinating waterfalls from around the world. We're going to pull back the curtain for a moment here and just talk about how I've edited quite a few scripts for TopTenz by now, and I start to notice a theme in the scripts that I was picking from. War, people dying in caves, unethical medical experimentation, deadly noxious plants. You're all freaks is what I'm trying to say. No hate, I am too, but for the sake of my search history, the script I chose to edit this week is about waterfalls. Will you guys out there sit with me and talk about some cool waterfalls, just for a few minutes? I'm sure you will. Also, there's going to be a lot of words here that I'm not familiar with, so I had to look up a bunch of pronunciation guides, and even went to the effort of contacting an ex-girlfriend of mine who speaks Welsh. So I got a Welsh pronunciation from them. So yeah, you better appreciate the effort I went to for this one, because that was a very awkward conversation.
Good lad. You're finally acting like a man.
No, it wasn't. We get on fine, but yeah, she had to walk me through how to say a word in Welsh and was laughing the entire time. So yeah, look forward to that later on in the video, but let's move on to number 10, the Karl Falls, India. So the Karl Falls are considered to be one of the tallest plunge waterfalls on the Indian subcontinent, and for those unversed in waterfall-related terminology, a plunge waterfall is where the water, and I quote, loses contact with the rocks over which it flows. Basically, if you were asked to imagine a waterfall, you'd imagine a plunge waterfall. So yeah, keep that in mind. Anyway, the Karl Falls are supposedly named for a woman who threw herself from them after being tricked into eating the curried corpse of her baby. I swear I read the title on this one before I decided to do the edit. I didn't realise it went this raw, this fast. I hate my job sometimes. So the legend goes that this wonderful waterfall got its name from a lady called Lakai, who is said to have committed suicide into it after her jealous lover killed and then curried her baby from a previous marriage. A sordid history that hasn't prevented hotels and tour companies from selling treks to the falls, noting that they're a great spot for nature lovers, couples with one site noting that the falls are, and I'm not making this up, child friendly. Number 9, the Cryptickk Falls in Laos. Okay, so let's say you're a backpacker travelling through Laos, which is of course great.
Better than fine. It was Laos.
Let's say you want to see a waterfall, but really want to get your money's worth. Well, in that case, the Cryptickk Falls are the place for you, because you get 3 waterfalls for the price of 1, which is so much waterfall. Specifically, the falls are a 3-tiered waterfall that themselves cascade into an eerily blue, oft described as turquoise water, something that is the result of a high amount of calcium carbonate in the water. And don't worry if that sounds like scary, it just means the rocks that the falls go over are largely limestone, which causes them to reflect more light than regular water, making the water appear to be very blue. Almost too blue. This understandably makes the falls a popular Instagram spot, and as a result, a lot of the info I got for them came from sites called stuff like Backpackers Wanderlust. So yeah, note that down. For the curious, yes, you can swim in the water, and there's even a rope swing set up because guides know that white people in their backpacking phase are all about rope swings. Be warned though, visiting the falls will set you back a cool 25,000 Laotian kip, which amounts to about $1.25. What a deal. Also, I do have something from Laos. My friend went to Laos and brought me a souvenir. If you'll allow me to go off camera for a second. Here it is. So this is like a money holder thing from Laos, and it was made by a Laotian gentleman, and my friend laughed so hard at it, they said, I've got to buy you one. And it's just a hastily stitched dinosaur with the caption, "Dinosaur is gone." They got me another one, which has another dinosaur on it, where it says, "Dinosaur was gone." There's also one that they got with a chicken on it for their other friend that says, "Cock wakes you up." Laos. Let's move on. Number 8, the Bang Geok Falls in Vietnam. Similar to the previous entry, the Bang Geok Falls in Vietnam are technically 2 waterfalls in one, so for all you waterfall maxers out there, you should keep that in mind. That's because the Bang Geok Falls in Vietnam are also the De Tien Falls in China. The falls quite literally fall on the border of both countries, and each has their own name for it. This is apparently something of a potential political hand grenade and thorny issue for both sides, which you probably surmise when I mentioned China and a border. And actually getting to the falls is known as being somewhat of a huge pain in the ass. though it seems that visiting from the Vietnamese side is somewhat easier, so that's what most tourists tend to do. China is seemingly aware of this and has gone to great lengths to make visiting from their side the superior waterfall viewing experience, offering everything from bamboo rafting trips to the base to a glass conveyor belt that will take you to the top, because the stairs on the Vietnamese side are for chumps.
Dad, when do we get to the ride?
This is the ride! Yippee!
Number 7, the Tumpak Sewu waterfall in Indonesia. So we've already talked about waterfalls that are actually multiple waterfalls in one, but Indonesia has them all beat with the Tumpak Sewu Falls, which in Javanese roughly translates to 1,000 waterfalls. So hell yeah, that's a lot of waterfall. This is because the falls fall in such a way to give the appearance of hundreds of interconnected waterfalls cascading around in a massive semicircle. While not the largest waterfall in Indonesia, even Indonesian tour operators that I checked with, on their websites, I didn't call them up or anything, note that, yeah, the Tumpak Sewu Falls are probably the best one. So once you've seen those, you'll be all waterfalled out for the rest of your trip. Part of the reason why is that you're not just getting 1,000 waterfalls in one, you're also getting a volcano from which much of the falls' water comes from. Also, while most tour operators note that the trek to the bottom of the falls to see the real good stuff is quite tricky, we found multiple blog posts from backpackers who claim to have made the journey in flip-flops, so it's probably not that difficult. Number 6, the Langfoss Waterfall in Norway. The Langfoss Waterfall has numerous accolades to its name, perhaps the most noteworthy being that it was voted one of, and I quote, the greatest waterfalls on the planet by the World Waterfall Database, who I assume know a thing or two about waterfalls. Amusingly, part of their criteria for voting it the greatest waterfall on Earth was the sheer amount of spray kicked up at the base of the waterfall, because it nearly made the person viewing it fly off, with them describing the experience as tantamount to taking a stroll during a hurricane. Anyway, Norwegian people are big fans of the waterfall, so much so it's one of the few in the country not used for the generation of hydroelectric power, nor will it be as the government saw to it that Langfoss will remain pristine, which may or may not have anything to do with the fact the water is said to have magical healing properties, specifically for men, as the water is said to make you more virile, stemming from legends positing that the area was blessed by fairies in the past. Also, because this is very, very funny, in Norwegian, Langfoss literally translates to long waterfall. Number 5, the Jiulong Waterfall in China. So we're back to China now, and the Jiulong Waterfall, which, like many of the other waterfalls on this list, is multiple waterfalls in one. Specifically in this case, 10, which is a nice round number, and is probably the reason why. A legend posits that the waterfall was created by 10 dragons having a fistfight over the right to rule the sea. Curiously though, the waterfall is often referred to as the 9 Dragons Waterfall, as one of the dragons is said to have greedily tried to hoard the sea for themselves, causing the other 9 to burrow into the earth, creating the waterfalls, and then draining the sea of water, leaving that final dragon just stranded all alone, at which point its body was just left there and became a nearby mountain. The lesson here, dragons are terrible, don't mess with them. Anyway, the falls do indeed live up to their moniker, with the dragon-like roar of the falls be able to be heard for miles away, and the spray they kick up in the summer months, leading to almost perpetual rainbows. Meaning another name we could use for these falls is the Gay Rights Dragon Waterfall, which is awesome. Number 4, the Albion Falls in Canada. So it must be tough being a waterfall in Canada that isn't Niagara Falls, because what do you even do to compete with the image most people have in their mind when you say the word waterfall? Well, the answer for Albion Falls is marketing. So during our research, we found numerous marketing stunts to promote the falls, including dyeing it various colours, which admittedly look very cool, and advertising its proximity to, of all things, a water park. And I will say they are missing a trick not having one of the slides go down the waterfall, but we digress. There are of course a number of, if you'll forgive the pun, colourful local legends about the falls, including one about a ghost, a waterfall ghost. A ghost at least one man claims to have tried to fight while he was drunk, taking a swing at the spirit only to have his arm broken. So you're probably wondering, did the ghost hit the guy back? No, it turns out that what the guy thought was a ghost was actually a dead pig, which he punched with such force his arm broke. Let's see Niagara top that. Number 3, Sgurda Eira, Wales. So my Welsh friend is no doubt laughing their arse off at me trying to pronounce this one. I just know it. Located in scenic and far easier to pronounce Brecon Beacons, Sgurda Eira Waterfall, which translates to, quite literally, the Falls of Snow, is one of several waterfalls in what is aptly known as Waterfall County, Wales. So what makes this waterfall special compared to the multitude of other waterfalls within literal walking distance? You can see 4 waterfalls in the space of a 10-kilometre walk. Like, you know, for anyone curious about how many waterfalls there are in the Waterfall County. Well, this is because you can walk behind the waterfall, hence its name in Welsh of Falls of Snow. That's because the spray looks like snow from behind, which is kind of cool, right? There are, of course, legends about this location, including one that suggests a nearby gorge, fittingly known as Devil's Glen, is home to a variety of spooky goings-on. Also, the famed Lady of the Lake from Arthurian legend is said to chill nearby in, as you probably guessed, a lake. Number 2, Nachi Falls in Japan. A common trend you probably noticed with a lot of the waterfalls we've talked about so far is that many of them have legends or myths associated with them, which sort of makes sense when you consider the sheer amount of raw, concentrated power contained within a waterfall. Nachi Falls are no different, and it's believed that a Shinto water deity resides within them, which some may scoff at, but imagine coming across this thing hundreds of years ago and witnessing a seemingly endless torrent of water crash into a pool with a thundering roar of an angered god. It's easy to see why people sought to worship this thing rather than risk upsetting whatever the hell was behind it. Hell, it's said that in the past, an emperor was stunned into awed silence by this waterfall and assumed that something this powerful had to be protecting a great treasure. In the years since, Shinto priests actually took to hiding treasure in the falls, lending credence to the video game logic of waterfalls always containing hidden goodies. While all this is fun and games, a somewhat distressing side effect of these legends is that over the years, many have thrown themselves over the falls, believing that the deity controlling them would grant them some kind of power or everlasting life or access to paradise. The reasoning varies. The fact that the force of the falls, which is one of the largest in the world, likely pulverized their body instantly, making it appear to immediately disappear, likely did little to dissuade people of the illusion that a god was behind the goings-on and mechanics of this particular waterfall. Number 1, Gaia Falls. So here's a first for me. I'm now going to refer to a waterfall in the past tense. That's because the Gaia waterfalls in Brazil just don't exist anymore. This is because in the 1980s, the governments of Paraguay and Brazil created a hydroelectric dam that admittedly does power a quantifiable percentage of both countries. So yeah, it has that going for it. In fact, the dam produces more power than Paraguay needs, allowing the country to sell the excess to its neighbours. But for this hydroelectric power station to exist, it had to destroy literally one of the largest waterfalls on Earth, which kind of sucks and was the reason why the falls were chosen in the first place. The flow rate, the amount of water that went through the waterfalls at any given time at its peak, was twice that of Niagara. And here's the thing, we don't even have a cool legend about the falls to end on, because the final footnote of the story of Gaia Falls is equally as depressing when a suspension bridge full of people wanting a final look at them collapsed. Just a few short months later, the falls, like those unfortunate souls, were lost beneath the water because, yeah, they didn't dry up the falls or anything, they flooded it to create a reservoir. Meaning, yes, they somehow found a way to drown a waterfall.
What's past is past. Time to move on.
So I hope everybody out there found this video to be entertaining, educational, and informative in, some satisfying ratio. I have been your host for this episode, Karl Smallwood. I'll be presenting videos on and off. I'm not sure how many they want me to do behind the scenes, but I'm certainly having a lot of fun punching up scripts, finding cool stuff about waterfalls, and sharing it with you, the audience. I hope to see everybody next time, and, you can like the video for analytics purposes, comment with feedback or suggestions, or subscribe for more content like this. But as I always like to say at the end of each video I present, go out there and have the day that you deserve. Also, yeah, remember, dinosaur is gone. Cheers. Actually, Joe, I'll go and get the other ones because people might not believe me. Give me a sec. There we go, perfect. So, dinosaur is gone. Dinosaur was gone. And the reason I want to get this one is because there's nothing on the back of this one, but on this one, we can actually give the guy a shout out. This was made by Charlie in Laos. Dinosaur.